What is up, everybody? My name is Jordan York. I'm alongside here with my best friend and partner, Mr. Michael Nicastro. How are you today?
What's up, JY? I'm happy to be on with you. I think it's time to get a little sick here on the Steelers Crazy podcast. I'm not talking in a bad way. Obviously, we're talking in a good way. Steelers season right around the corner. We can't wait. It came so soon, man. I can't believe it's here already. So let's rock and roll. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco. Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Man, I'll tell you what, that intro got me ready to run through a wall, man. I'm ready to go to Heinz Field, I'm still going to call it Heinz Field. Steeler Nation, I think that they'll agree with me. But, so I was at Steelers training camp yesterday, got to see our friend number 95, Big Worm, Kenny Pickett, watched the quarterback battle, watched, everything going on. So we'll start off, Mike. I kind of want to get your take on the whole QB competition that's going on. I do know that, Mike Tomlin announced that Mitch Trubisky, obviously he has the most, his resume is the best, as you can say. And so he's going to get the nod against the Seahawks on Saturday. And let's just get, a little bit more of your take on that and where you see the whole season going.
First of all, I know you said you're ready to run through a wall. What position would you play if the Steelers signed you tomorrow?
Special teams. I have to be special teams. I can be maybe like a gunner or, maybe a Hank Poteet or something like that. But yeah, man, I'm just a special teams. And, that's what I played in my 1 year in 8th grade. So I'm going to stick with that there.
Special teams for a special guy. Fair enough. I could see you being a long snapper as well. You kind of got that mindset where you be really consistent with everything. And you have to have consistency if you're a long snapper. Anyway, obviously, the meat on the bone is the Steelers quarterback competition. You mentioned that Mitch Trubisky is going to get the start, of course, on Saturday, which makes sense because when the Steelers signed Trubisky, their intention was that he was the starter. Didn't matter if they trade up for the number 1 pick in the draft and took Kenny Pickett. It was going to be a bridge year for any rookie quarterback they brought in. So Trubisky is their guy, right? He's going to get the first crack at it in the preseason, and I think he's going to get the first crack at it in the regular season, barring an injury or something catastrophic happening, right? Mason Rudolph, he's your number 2. He's going to get a chance in the preseason, just like he has the last handful of years, right? They've seen him in training camp for 4 years. They know what they have in Mason Rudolph at this point. If you're confident in Mason Rudolph, you don't sign Mitch Trubisky. If you're confident in Mason Rudolph, you don't draft Kenny Pickett. So if they start the season starting Mason Rudolph, what does that say about the brain trust of this team and the decisions they've made over the last few months? Pencil it in, put it in Sharpie. Mitch Trubisky is the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or else everybody is going to be sick about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of Yinzers, and it's nothing against Mason. I'm sure he's a great guy, but I'm sure he had, time to prove himself when Ben was out. And yeah, man, tying the lines ain't going to do it. We need to win games, and Mitch is a proven winner. And I think, if something happens with Mitch, week 6, week 7, I think that the Yinzers will get behind Kenny, just like they did at Pitt. And it's just exciting, man. It's life after Ben. That's the motto. And, he's going to obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer, but we knew this day was coming. And here it is, man, a new Steelers era. So to stay on the same topic of the offense, we're going to talk about the workload of Mr. Harris. Kind of touch on that. Dude, I was at training camp, man, and just seeing him, he is just just a workhorse. You can just tell he's just always studying and just trying to get better and taking care of his body for as many touches that he's probably going to have in his career. I think that he's off to a good start on the self-care.
He's a special dude. For anybody that wasn't following our social media channels yesterday, tell them, the viewers, what you saw Najee Harris doing.
Yeah, so I just happened, to be on the sidelines, and he was kind of getting some water and talking to some of the coaches, and I overheard them. Someone pulled their phone out, and they're watching LeVeon Bell highlights. I can't make this up. And, he was just kind of when LeVeon was in his prime and maybe trying to just, learn or just appreciate it. It was a special time in Steelers world. But, I honestly think that he's going to be better, and he's on the right track right now. Obviously, the offensive line, we'll see how that pans out. But he did it last year. So, I think he's going to do it again and better.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell, not a bad role model on the field, that's for sure.
Yes.
A guy that the Steelers obviously had a ton of Pro Bowl seasons from, and a guy with a similar skill set to Najee because they can both really catch it out of the backfield. His workload needs to be managed. Probably the understatement of this entire Steelers crazy sick podcast today, right? The wheels fall off running backs very, very quickly in this league. I think there's one running back, and that's Derrick Henry, who comes to mind, that has been able to produce at a high level for more than 4 or 5 years. So they have to keep him fresh. And for me, this was a major, major gaffe on the Steelers' part. And listen, there are still a few weeks until the initial game, September 11th against the Cincinnati Bengals. But I don't think they did enough to address the backup running back position. They're kind of going in with the same cats they did last year.
Yeah.
And Najee Harris, every time he suited up for a game, which is essentially every single game, I'm pretty sure, he got 99% of the touches, any plays out of the backfield. And once again, it's almost like a Mason Rudolph situation where that shows their faith in the backup running backs. Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland. These guys have not been competent pros. It's just a fact. And once more, I don't see the potential and a big ceiling for them as to where if Najee Harris goes down, they can replicate his production, and that's a problem. They had a chance to sign free agents out there who are on the market. I really like Jerick McKinnon, who went back to the Chiefs. He put it on the Steelers last year in a playoff game, absolutely dominated them. He would have been a better backup than Benny Snell or Anthony McFarland. They could have drafted somebody. Heck, 4th and 5th round draft picks in today's NFL can become studs. Look at the 49ers last year. They took Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round, a kid out of Louisiana Lafayette. He became their starter immediately. Workhorse running back, rushed for over 1,000 yards. I had him in fantasy football when I was rolling over your team, even though I think you might have won the championship.
Hey, I won, so calm down.
All right, you had a good year, but I think I beat you that one game. But
hey,
yeah,
you got to play the waiver wire. That's what I did every year. I had a different running back every week. I was just, watching NFL Network and trying to learn. But kind of on, that note, I think that it would be great. I think Benny Snell is a great special teams player. But it's definitely he needs to step up. People don't realize. I mean, Najee, that he can take the carries and the touches, but do you want to do that to this man? You want to, if the Steelers do want to make a Super Bowl run in the next few years or whatever it may be, they're going to need his legs. So, you don't want to, overwork him, even though that he already said that he's willing to do that just because that's the type of player that he is. So on that note, the most important thing in football, the offensive line. They made some additions, Mason Cole, Kedrick Green, and Kevin Dawson. They're battling right now. A lot of changes. Tell me, what are to me, I think that they made significant improvements this offseason with everything. I think that it takes time for things to mesh. And I think that it's not going to be week 1. We're still going to see that but I think my take week 6, I've been on this week 6 kick, but I think that that's when you kind of find your team's identity.
Yeah, I fully agree. Listen, that means it doesn't mean they have 5 weeks to just kind of crap the bed. But at the same time, this is the position that needed the most improvement on the Steelers. Any rational human being that watched his team last year would say that this was their weak spot. This was their kryptonite, man. It didn't allow Ben Roethlisberger to have time in the pocket. It didn't allow Najee Harris to have running lanes. It certainly didn't help Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland, although they didn't help their self much either. But they addressed it. Like you said, Mason Cole, young, under 25 years old, center coming over from the Minnesota Vikings. Good guy. Friend of Yins are crazy, and hopefully the Sick podcast, Steelers Crazy, relatively soon. It's going to get a chance at center, replacing Kendrick Green. His position in college wasn't center, so I get why he struggled last year. He was thrust into the center position as a third-round pick. Are you kidding me? That's a guy who's still got a chance to be a pretty good guard in this league. You pick up James Daniels, right guard from the Chicago Bears. A lot of people had him on their radar. Under 25 years old, right? You sign Chukwu Okorafor again, right tackle, under 25 years old. You're likely going to go with Kevin Dotson or Kendrick Green, the aforementioned Kendrick Green at left guard, both under 25 years old, and Dan Moore Jr. there at left tackle, under 25 years old. So what's the theme there?
Young.
They're young, they're hungry, they're ready to prove themselves. And I tell you, maybe the biggest thing that can improve an offensive line is not the actual offensive line itself. No. If that makes any sense whatsoever. It's mobility at the quarterback position. And the Steelers addressed that twice. Signing Mitch Trubisky, who Steelers cornerback Levi Wallace, former Buffalo Bills cornerback, told us he would replicate Josh Allen, Bills all-pro quarterback in practice, who is a Mack truck. Josh Allen runs over people. He's got speed. It's crazy. He's like a rebirthed Dante Culpepper. He's like Cam Newton in his prime. The dude is sick. So that shows you the mobility of Trubisky. And then we saw so many years of Kenny Pickett here at Pitt. Great mobility. He can even do a fake slide.
Yeah. That's literally, and they implemented a whole rule on that you're not allowed to do that, but he did that. Yeah, I caught some of Kenny yesterday at training camp, and I can't tell you how many times he was going the extra mile where, most quarterbacks in that situation, they throw the ball out of bounds. Dude, he was trying to get every yard, on the sideline. George Pickens, dude. Pickett. Oh, dude, it's going to be such a great combination. George Pickens is literally an animal, just so naturally. Like, seeing it in person yesterday, I was like, because you see, everyone gets on the hype train, but let me tell you what, man, this hype train is real, and I know that we're going to see it this season. I mean, we're going to see it Saturday. So kind of just the lead into that, the Steelers play the Seahawks on Saturday in the first preseason game at this stadium. And the crazy thing is what I'm reading up and watching right now is the Seahawks, they're picking them to win like 2 or 3 games this year and have the first round pick. It's crazy to me because the Seahawks have been such, like, they kind of remind me of the Steelers of the NFC. It's just like, a great organization and kind of just, same thing. I kind of feel that way about the Packers, how they run, their football operations. But man, I mean, I think Mitch is going to start. And, this is the first preseason game is usually like no one really cares. But as a Steeler fan, man, there's a lot of storylines, headlines, whatever you want to call it. But there's going to be a lot of people tuned in. I know that, and for just the first preseason game.
You mentioned some really good ones. George Pickens, probably reason 1A. He's going to attract a huge audience. He's like when Avatar was released in movie theaters. Man, that place was filled to the brim. And I just thought it was an okay movie, probably like a 6 out of 10, but I think it did pretty well on Rotten Tomatoes. Free shout out there for James Cameron. No sponsorship on this show. Pickens, he's got somebody compared him to Randy Moss this week. Like, come on, let the guy play one preseason game.
Yeah,
first.
Dude, dude got a lot to live up to already. I mean, it's nothing that he can control, obviously, but I mean, that's like being Michael Jordan's son.
Yeah, before you even play a pickup game. Like, it's a little much. The guy that I compare him to actually is former Steelers wide receiver Martavis Bryant. And
very good.
Listen, a lot of people forget that on the field, Martavis Bryant was sick, like crazy sick. And I know I'm fitting 2 words in this podcast in one sentence. I saw that dude run past the entire Arizona Cardinals secondary on a 8-yard slant pass from Landry Jones. And he wasn't running past, like Clifford, the big red dog, somebody that you probably couldn't catch him. He was running past Tyrann Mathieu and Patrick Peterson out there. They weren't Teletubbies. That's probably a better example. Clifford, the big red dog, could probably catch him, actually. He's a big red dog. But anyway, Martavis, a lot of similar traits. Tall, skinny, can go up and catch it. Big catch radius, fast as a deer, a gazelle, man. You wouldn't realize how fast he was until you saw him in person. So excited to see Pickens. We already talked about the quarterbacks. Obviously, that's going to be what everybody's watching. And then the rest of the rookie class too. I'm really excited to see DeMarvin Leal, the defensive lineman they took out of Texas A&M. Let's see what he's got. This is a defensive line that's banged up. We reported yesterday that Montravius Adams was in a boot. And he was a defensive tackle last year that came over as a waiver wire claim from the Saints, and he was awesome down the stretch for the Steelers. Like, without knowing a playbook, without having any experience in Pittsburgh's system over there with Keith Butler, like, it was insane last year how well he was able to produce. But yesterday, you saw him, and he was banged up and limping.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think that something that the Steelers and Mike Tomlin are really good at is adding depth. Just obviously like with Chris Wormley, Tyson Olo, he's back. It's just, I always say, like, people will, you see on Twitter and stuff, and they're like, are the Steelers rebuilding? What's going on? Like, the Steelers don't rebuild. Like, we haven't had a losing, like, it's just like, and that's why everyone hates us, because we're the only organization that operates like this. And in the Rooneys, it's just being at St. Vincent yesterday, man. I'm telling you, there's just a certain excitement that, you got to appreciate Ben, but let's be honest, these past couple seasons, it was rough. It was just rough watching, because we watched so many good years of him dominating. And then towards the end, it's like, yeah, he's still giving it his all, but it was time to, go. But dude, the excitement is just, it's Steelers crazy. It's literally Steelers crazy. So what I'm going to do, speaking of Twitter, we took a few of these great people's questions. So Real Villain wants to ask you, Pickens. Obviously, we were talking about the hype earlier, but realistically, how big of a role do you think he's going to play? Like, I know the depth charts came out, but it's preseason. That could change a million times. But as far as like prolong the season, how do you think, what is his role going to be?
Pickens? There's a Pickens on the Steelers now? No, I'm kidding. The dude is literally talking about like he's Big Ben already. Put him in the Hall of Fame. Just put him in the Hall of Fame. All right, do it today. I think his role realistically is going to start off as the guy behind Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool in that offense. But he can overtake Chase Claypool. He's going to be on the outside. Chase Claypool is going to be in the slot. But I'm talking in terms of targets specifically. He can overtake Chase Claypool. Chase was not good last year. He had one touchdown. He admitted himself this offseason that his play was not good, and he showed a lack of maturity as well. Everybody remembers the Vikings play where he got up and he did the little first down signal when the time was literally running out. And so he said that he's worked with guys like Brandon Marshall, a Penn Hills guy, Pittsburgh guy who had some troubles of his own, more so off the field. But Claypool has too. He was kind of involved in a little scuffle last year. Pickens can overtake him eventually. A realistic role for him is start off as the outside receiver and maybe eventually be second in targets to Deontay Johnson. Deontay just got paid. He's going to be the number one receiver on the Steelers this year. But, hey, maybe Pickens can hold that title next year.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like I said, don't forget about Calvin Austin. Dude was sharp at camp yesterday, and the Steelers are good at getting receivers. It's crazy. I mean, Gunner on special teams, man. It's exciting, man. I keep
That's you.
stressing
You're
that,
the gunner
man.
on special teams.
Yeah.
You're the gunner on special teams.
No, they want to give me a one-day contract. I'm here, Mike. But so
is that a
we
Steelers
got one
game
more
on behind you?
What's that? They're just highlights. That's what I do. I have like 3 TVs in my game room, but one in my little home gym. Yeah,
Alex Highsmith is running off the field right now. That's
yeah, dude. That's
creeping me out.
I always, it's just sets the mood. Little Steelers highlights. I watch the Super Bowls. Anyways, so this is from the Real Pittsburgh on Twitter. He wants to know, Pittsburgh Super Bowl, should they start playing the song? Well, and then he says sacks. So basically, I'm going to decipher that as that defense wins championships. So should we start playing the Here We Go, Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl, or hold the brakes until the regular season?
I think you halt the brakes, but it's still a good song, so I'm going to ask you to sing it.
Yeah. Here we go. Man, Roger Woods, that is a hit. Pittsburgh's going. I used to bang pots in my yeah, dude. You know, back in the day, like you used to have like those little black and white TVs. Like everyone had like a small TV in their kitchen.
Like the kitchen.
And I remember my mom would be in the other room, and I would run in there and I would just pray, and I'd be like, let them get. And my mom would be yelling because it was delayed, you know. So like it was like 2 seconds. She would yell. Yeah, dude, it was like stressful as heck. But I was like, I was sitting in the corner, and I'm like, that's my little Steeler prayer. But yeah, man.
How much better would the world have been, man, if those little TVs were still around? You could just warm up your pizza rolls and sit there and watch kitchen TVs. Nobody really has a TV in their kitchen anymore because you're probably getting a little bit of trouble at home.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, this has been a great first episode. Like I said, we're excited to be a part of the Sick team. We can't say that enough. And we just have so many awesome things. We don't want to give too much away, but we're going to have giveaways. We're going to have guests. We're going to, our goal is to give you guys the best Steelers content in the world, not just in Pittsburgh, because we know Steeler Nation, the Cowboys can have America's team, but we know who the world's team is, and it's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hey, listen, Let me jump in real quick. Shout out social media. Of course, at SickPod Steelers. That's where you're going to want to find us. Our team's just doing amazing work. We're so happy to have them to be a part of this at the Sick Podcast Steelers. You see that scrolling on the bottom of your screen. You don't need me to tell you that. At Yinzer Crazy Show is our handle. At Jordan York Music, I'm at Mic'd Up Sports 1. And yeah, of course, we want you guys to follow some of who we're working with as well. Total Sports Enterprise in Pittsburgh. They're hooking everybody up with a Minkah Fitzpatrick signed jersey. Find that on our profiles because, I mean, come on now. Another all-pro who we get to, give away his items to. Also want to shout out Yinzer Shop. They help us out over here in Pittsburgh. Some of the best quality products that you can find. Steelers logos. There are logos that still say, as you talked about, it's still Heinz Field to me. It says that on their T-shirt. It's not Acrisure Stadium. It's still Heinz Field to me. So yinzershop.com. Use coupon code YinzerCrazy over here. And while you're doing it, you better follow at SickPod Steelers. And catch us next time.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a great season, and we are so excited, and we are Steelers crazy, baby.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.